CM, the eternal bachelorette.
I'm gonna die alone. Or get a rich husband.
You're the matchmaker. You must know a lot about love.
I know about dating. Because the next person I date...
That's Materialists, which stars Dakota Johnson as an ambitious matchmaker who finds herself torn between the perfect match, played by Pedro Pascal, and her imperfect ex, played by Chris Evans.
It is the second film from Canadian Oscar nominee Celine Song, who once worked as a matchmaker herself. And Celine joins us back here on TMS. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
Oh, well, like I said, in the commercial, the door is always open. Okay, we have to go back because, before you were a filmmaker, you were a matchmaker.
Yeah.
How good of a matchmaker were you?
I mean, I feel like it was my day job because as a playwright in New York City, trying to pay rent, I needed a way to make some income so that I can, pay rent. And this was the only day job I could get. And I worked as a matchmaker for about 6 months, and I learned, I think, more about people in those 6 months than I did at any other time of my life.
So you're doing that by night or by day?
I'd be by day.
By day, writing at night.
Writing at night, yeah.
So then, did you know then that this was going to turn into something that you were going to write a film? Yes?
Yeah, I feel like every time, I think that I would, come home from the job, I think I would always think, I just know I'm going to one day write about this. And I've been trying to sort of, crack the story for a long time. I was a matchmaker in my 20s back in 2016. And ever since then, I've been dreaming about a story about it,
Was it a satisfying job or career being a matchmaker? Because we see Lucy, played by Dakota Johnson. I think she really struggles with that quite a bit in the film. Because on one side, you're helping people, right, to hopefully find that special someone. But it also seems to take a toll on her as well.
Yeah, of course. I feel like, I didn't do it long enough for it to take a toll, but I think I could see how one could. Because so much of what you do as a matchmaker is that you get to hear what people say that they desire in their hearts. And the thing that I really feel is that when we're asked to describe our ideal partner, often it is in numbers, height, weight, age, income. And then I think that really is the way I feel about those things, and then the way that what I know about love as an ancient mystery, as this thing that cannot be solved with numbers, this thing that cannot be quantified. I think the gap between those two things really inspired this whole film. And I think that as I was walking away from this job, which, by the way, I quit because I was having too much fun and I wasn't writing. So I was so interested in the job. I was so deeply in the job, and I was so obsessed with people in it that I ended up not writing for those 6 months. And at one point I was like, I have to quit because otherwise I'm going to not be a writer and I'm just going to keep being a matchmaker. Yeah.
I'm now thinking of your other possible life. I mean, you rarely hear people quitting from their job that they love.
But we're so glad you did.
Yeah, thank goodness. But then as I was leaving, I was like, I just know I'm going to want to tell a story about it one day. And I think that, and I got to. And I think that once I finished Past Lives, from the time I finished Past Lives to, when Past Lives came out, there was some time there that I was like, I've got to figure out what my next movie is,
Right. Now, talking about Past Lives, and that's all about the difficulty of letting go of the past to live in the present. Did that philosophy come into play with this one as well? Kind of weaving in?
Well, I think that honesty is more connected to how we know each other. Right? Because I feel like you can know different parts of each other and ourselves, which is always a part of what it feels like to be a human being. So I think that is really the humanity of it, or the way that we exist as modern people, where we have many different parts of our lives that different people understand. I think that was really what drove me to the story. I think it's it really was inspired by this moment where I was sitting next to a very, very wealthy person at a theater event, and then I also saw across the room, and I saw a friend who was a theater actor who was working the job as a cater waiter. And I think that just sitting there thinking about that and thinking about the different ways that we live, and also different ways that we live in New York City, and the different kinds of rent we pay, I think that really became the heart of this movie. You know, it's what's called Materialists. Yeah.
So I want to ask you about Materialists in terms of it being a rom-com, because a lot of people are calling this the return of the rom-com. Would you agree with that? Do you see this movie as a romantic comedy or something maybe a little different?
Well, I think of it as very much modern romance more than anything. I feel like it's like the rom-com as a genre has often been dismissed as not serious films, because I feel like they usually call it like chick flicks, and then they go, well, it's a chick flick, so it's not a serious cinema. But what I really believe about rom-com as a genre, generally speaking, is that, like, you know, it's sad in a couple of ways, because I feel like, of course, by saying that, well, chick flicks are not serious, you're saying chicks are not serious people. And then on the other hand, you're also saying that, well, serious people, it's not a concern of theirs, the love and romance and everything in between. But the truth is that love is a universal theme in one of the great dramas we go through in our lives. And it's one very extraordinary thing that you do, even if you're a very ordinary person.
Sure.
You know, not all of us know how to save the world or change everything and cure cancer, but the thing that I know that all of us are able to do that is extraordinary and that is very dramatic is fall in love, fall out of love, and feel love. I think that to me is totally worthy of drama.
Yeah. Well, one of the things the film really explores is looking at each other as commodities.
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of the modern day dating scene that you explore in this film. What do you make of that, and do you hope that that's one of the things audiences take away and maybe talk about after the film's done?
Yes, of course. I think that is really at the heart of the film. You know, there's a character in the film who says, I'm not merchandise, I'm a person. I think that as we sort of course, the dating market or the marriage market sort of existed forever. You know, Victorian romances like Jane Austen has been about the marriage market and the dating market in that way. So there's so much literature of like dating market as a story, but I feel like what used to happen at garden parties or in a local community, now it's kind of immigrated onto a phone. And now on the phone, you can see the global dating market on your phone, right? Either through dating apps or just on Instagram or whatever. And a part of that is that this self-objectification and the self-commodification, and in turn, objectification and commodification of everyone else, that is becoming faster and easier and better for the worse,
right.
for worse. And I think that at the end of commodification of a person, treating people like merchandise is always going to be dehumanization. And I think at the end of the day, the movie, it is a romance, and it is about, you know, an opportunity for all of us to sit in a theater and to think about and talk about love for 2 hours.
Yes.
And that's what's so amazing about it. But I think that now that we have an opportunity to talk about love, to me, it was really important for me in this film to get to talk about it for real. You know, to talk about it actually directly, and to talk about it as a thing that we're all going to get quite real about. Yeah.
Well, you're going to be talking about it with yours when you go see this. It is in theaters, Materialists, tomorrow. Celine, so great to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me again, you guys. This is such a great conversation.
Our
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you so much.